The president caught that and responded on Twitter after allowing North Korea to research and build nukes, while Secretary of State Bill Clinton also. Crooked Hillary now criticizes. We have counterterrorism expert Aaron Cohen. The president does have a point that this goes way, way back, this accommodating dictators, particularly, Kim Jong-un's father, and I guess by extension the grandfather before him. But the point is that diplomacy, it's not as if it's not being tried, right? I mean, we're exhausting all angles here, right?
Well, all the angles have been exhausted, which is why the president is talking tough, Neil. And to add to Hillary's criticism of Trump, or to comment on it specifically, to me, it just shows a complete and utter lack of understanding when it comes to the security fundamentals. And what I mean by that is threat assessment and risk management, assessing threats and then being able to manage those threats with professional security protocols. And in this case, we're talking about nuclear, war. So for Hillary to come at the president, because his messaging is off, where I come out is, you know what, Hillary, that's great for the boardroom at a corporation, but that has nothing to do with managing a nuclear threat. And I believe that when you're threatened by a country that's in your face and sending missiles belligerently in order to, it almost seems a little crazy, to not come back at that with the appropriate amount of aggression. I think Hillary's way out of line. I think President Trump's messaging is spot on. And quite honestly, I think they're tired of the anti-Trump criticism from the Hillary camp. She just kind of needs to bow out and quiet down.
And again, whatever people's views on this isn't coming from a Democratic president perspective or Republican president perspective, but it's not as if we haven't had and been ratcheting up the pressure through sanctions and economic, other diplomatic means, everything we can at the United Nations. It's to little avail. That doesn't mean necessarily you go attacking the North Koreans, but you have to look at other options as these seem to fail. What do you think those other options are going to be? I mean, one of the things I've heard advanced is that maybe you shoot down the next missile test, or if it gets too close to Guam, for example, you shoot that down. I don't know what sparks what response, but your thoughts on that?
I think it's a good question, Neil. How do we layer this thing? I think when it comes to responding to aggression, security layering needs to happen incrementally. And so I would say that the next it's always easier to escalate than it is to de-escalate. What I would say is I would begin systematic surveillance and, deploying our assets in and around that region to be able to bring back intelligence and maybe share that with the media, maybe share that with the internet and let the Koreans know, or the North Koreans know that, hey, we're having a look closer at your program, and we've lined up potential targeting. And so there's a bit of a psychological pressure involved once you can start putting that out to the media. And that's what I think could be a potentially logical next step.
This is kind of seemingly from a field, but if you'll indulge me, as you politely have over the years we've chatted. But one argument that the North Koreans are trying to provoke is that maybe hit the South Koreans hard as they are hosting the 2018 Winter Olympics, scare away athletes from coming to Seoul and ruin the Olympics for them, ruin the Olympics for the world. But because they're being so bellicose, ruin it for everybody, and that everyone will do just that. They'll back off. They'll be afraid to come. What do you think?
Well, I think it's a pretty logical assessment in terms of the positioning of North Korea to South Korea and how easy it would be for them to essentially terrorize those games. My response would be that has to be looked at as a soft target, essentially, and the security needs to be bolstered aggressively enough to be able to respond with enough, force as needed. And what I mean by that is, if there's a terror attack or some kind of attack targeted at South Korea at those games, that terrorist needs to be put down really quickly. That attack needs to be neutralized super quickly. And the message that will send is whatever it is you try and do to continue to put us on the defensive and in fear of your nuclear program and of your capabilities, we're not going to have it. So again, messaging that's soft, forget that, and really responding with the appropriate levels of aggression. I'd go after the security for that extremely aggressively.
Wow. It is scary, and it's getting increasingly close. Not only is something festering, but
it is.
Those Winter Olympics, if they ever come to pass, at the rate we're going. Aaron Cohen, thank you very much, my friend.